Modular buildings have held a special place in many LEGO fans' hearts for a long time, but now that the Bricklink designer program has stopped modular submissions so that they don't clash with the Icons line, the LEGO Ideas submissions have become all the more important. So in this video, we will check out 2024's best modulars that are gaining support, the ones that have already proved most popular, and some of the newest that definitely deserve your vote. We will start with this Beetlejuice Ghost House, only submitted a few days ago as I filmed this and already racking up the votes. If this looks a little familiar, we have seen it from this designer before in the 80s challenge. Of course, it didn't win out, but now it's freshly submitted and improved with more details, more size, and some cool minifigs. Now, of course, as if Beetlejuice didn't have enough of a cult following, the new movie has just powered the popularity even more. It's a subject matter that really deserves the LEGO treatment. And while you always worry about the IP issues of submissions like this, if it gets enough support, maybe LEGO might just be able to work out a deal and we could see it being made. In order for that to happen, though, it has to reach at least 10,000 votes. So as for any of these, if you want to potentially see them become a future LEGO set that you can buy, head on over to LEGO Ideas and make sure to support them. Considering how well this one is already doing in such a short period of time, I won't be surprised if it hits the 10,000 mark pretty soon. Moving on then to something quite different, and from the start of 2024, it's Tekeshi Townhouse, a Japanese style building, even including the phone box and wires, which I think is a really nice touch. This is quite small as modulars go, but as a concept, I think it could fit in very well with a lot of people's different setups. There's some really nice little design techniques going on in here, and it's just a style and subject matter which I'd really like to see quite a bit more of. And there's some really nice little details going on throughout. I must say though, this picture kind of looks like Harry Potter's parents, or is that just me? I think it does. But that aside, if you are a fan of the Japanese style of houses, this little modular is a cool one to vote for. Then one of the most supported so far for 2024, it is the Apple Store. All Android lovers look away at this point. I've really liked some of the submissions and indeed sets that we've had along this line before. The actual Lego Store, the IKEA submission that we've had a look at in the past, and this one really lends itself to the whole Legification process. It's cool, it's airy, it's got some nice part usage in here, great design choices going on throughout. And you know, the iPhones have got so big these days, it's actually not that out of proportion with the minifigs. They're pretty much that size. I think for those who like building modular cities, this would be an absolutely fantastic addition. And can I just say, the way that the Apple logo's been designed, spot on. The whole thing looks great, and it's not that often, of course, that you see any type of building, let alone a modular, with effectively this much glass in it, but of course it works being an Apple Store. And I kind of like the fact that although naturally you can open it up to get inside, even when it's closed up, you can fully see what is going on in there, and that's great for display as well. So I do really like that one a lot. Our next one is actually a LEGO staff pick, so something that has already caught their attention. A lovely looking building that makes up a hairstylist and perfumery. Personally, I really like this style of building. I think the way that it's been decorated is great. Love the use of colour in there. You would of course have to think carefully about what you want to be attaching this to so that it doesn't look too out of place with existing modulars that we have already, but it shouldn't be too hard to do, and well worth it because this has been nicely thought out throughout, with some really nice little touches and design choices that have been made. The only thing that really goes against it for me is the clown that's on the bicycle outside the front. I don't have a fear of clowns, but for some reason stick one on a bicycle and it just becomes a little bit creepy to me. Just give him a red balloon and he can be Pennywise out of it. Clown aside though, it is a nice little build and I'm not surprised that it has been chosen as a staff pick. Then we have a real architectural fusion going on here. Same designer that we just looked at a minute ago with the Tekeshi Townhouse. This time combining building aspects from San Francisco and once again Japan. Note also that Harry Potter's parents make a return. Now, whilst personally I have to say I don't particularly like the interior of this building, to my eye it doesn't look like it's been as carefully thought out as the others, more just stuff being put in there a little bit for the sake of it. What I do really like is the exterior of this. It kind of makes me think of the New Year Festival restaurant set that we got at the start of 2024, but it's definitely different and it builds upon that. I just really like this sort of style, and having a modular like this would be, I think, a really cool addition to the lineup. It is just the interior that lets it down for me. But perhaps I'm alone on that front, so comment down below, tell me what you think of it. Next though is one that is newer, submitted in August, but really caught my eye. This is the Hideout in the Swamp. And it does give me sort of post-apocalyptic zombie style vibes. It's just very different, completely out there, and for that reason, I kind of love it. The way that the swamp's been done down here, the styling of the tree, and of course the vegetation that is creeping up this rather ramshackle building that looks like it's falling into disrepair. Love it. Think it's really cool. And then before we get to the building itself, it's just the fun little things like the ducks down on the water and the boat that's been put into. I think a lot of time, care and attention has gone into this one, and it's just so different from any other modular that I can think of. Never mind released, but actually proposed before. It's really refreshing. Now, having said all that, I think because the style is so different, it might well alienate a lot of people. Perhaps there's quite a few who will look at this and just immediately think it's not for them. But for me, it really does tick all the boxes. I think it's got some really clever design work that's gone on into it. The choice of pieces is fantastic. And it's super fun, not just for display, but also for the playability of it as well. The interior looks really cool. It's kind of just grungy, survivalist, exactly what I think you should find in a building like this. It's been superbly done, in my opinion. Most importantly, I think it's really strong as a concept. And of course, that is what LEGO Ideas is mainly all about. So having this ramshackle building, the truck, the boat, the brilliant vegetation, it could easily fit in with a lot of third-party IPs without actually being that. So cleverly done, one to watch. I really like it. Next up is the Korean Tea House, and I won't try and pronounce this bit because I will get it wrong, but if you're interested in learning about this, or of course any of them, go over and check out the descriptions. The designer has taken the time to give a nice amount of information about this build. And again, it's an architectural style that I really like. It would be great to see LEGO do more things like this. Fantastic how the roof has been done. I think that's so beautiful. I mean, admittedly, you know, if it was made, that would be extremely repetitive and probably not very enjoyable to put together, but the finished result does look great, and again quite different modular wise from things that we've had in the past. The botanical side of things is quite nice. I'd actually like to see a lot more of it throughout this set. I think there's definitely room to have more going on at the sides and perhaps even creeping up onto the building itself. That would improve the exterior for me, but the interior is nicely done. Again, perhaps a few more plants throughout would be good, but I'm really just nitpicking in that regard. Otherwise, it's really fun and well thought out. I'm not surprised it's had a good amount of support already. It's quite a different style of design again, and those are generally the ones that do very well. Next up is another LEGO staff pick, this one the Fountain Place. Combination of photographic studio and also florist. It's another submission by a designer from earlier, and yes, the clown is back. At least this time not with a bicycle, so for some reason in my psyche, a lot less scary. I think I prefer this building even more than the other one. The shaping and colours that have been used are great, and of course the bonus of the van and the fountain really do take it the extra mile. I think being a corner build really adds to this as well. Just allows for this great shaping, which I think does add a lot to it. Now, in addition to that exterior, the interior is done nicely too. A little cramped in places perhaps, but filled with all the things you would expect to find in a florist or a photography studio, both of which would lend themselves to people's modular city setups. My only main criticism is that when taking these floors apart, they are a little bit cramped just because of all the admittedly cool accessories that we've got going on in here that could make it hard to interact with when it comes to the minifigs. So sometimes a little less is more. That might be the case here. Love the van though, and the sort of plant pot on top and the colours chosen. That's a really nice touch. That definitely ups the playability score. It just makes the whole thing a lot more fun. I think overall it is a strong submission, and once again suspect it's going to gain quite a few more supporters in the months to come. Now though, on to one that was only submitted earlier this month. It is the Lake House, and I think really quite beautiful. Similar to that hideout in the swamp earlier, this just really caught my eye as being something very different. I adore the colours here and the contrast of those colours as well as the shaping, but it's just the concept behind it once again that really makes this stand out for me. Having a modular house on a lake with, of course, the boat as well. It's a fantastic idea, really well executed. It's got the old style truck as well, which is cool. And the more that you look at it, the more fun things you find, from, again, the ducks and the fish and the butterflies, but even down here where you've got the little rabbit in its burrow underneath. I love little details like that. I think they just elevate these proposed sets so much. I think you could have a lot of fun with this. It's just a beautiful looking thing. Having the lake on that one side could add so much to a modular setup. It's not just a building, I don't think. It's something that can easily have a story behind it and really adds to a whole Lego world that you're creating. And anything that has that sort of story or emotional feel behind it really captures my attention. I like it a lot. And I think this has been very cleverly thought through. Love the truck and the boat. And I just think it ticks all the boxes, in my opinion. I'd love to have this. Think it's a really super idea. So early days, not many supporters yet, but let me know in the comments down below what you think of it. And if you do like it, make sure to head on over there and support it. I think it looks really cool. Another one from earlier this month as I filmed this that jumped out at me is the Medieval and Pirates costume shop. Now, I'll say right off the bat, I don't particularly like the way that this looks. I find the colours quite clashy and it's just a little bit too much going on, sort of trying to compete for attention. So I'm not a particular fan of the design of it. What I really like is the idea. And that is, of course, what Lego can take and run with and work with the fan designer to potentially improve upon. Now, being a big fan of the Pirates theme and, of course, Castle's medieval theme as well, a costume shop is a really cool way to integrate both of those into a modular city setup. It's fun and yet it makes sense. So while I'm not a huge fan of the outside, I don't dislike it. I just think it could be reworked to still show off pirates on one side, castle faction on the other, but not clash and sort of fight for attention so much. But big thumbs up for the idea. It's still a good looking thing. Got lots of fun that you could have with the interior. So I did want to give that one a shout out as well. We've then got another Lego staff pick, this time the Victorian Bandits den, and boy, there's a lot going on in here. At first glance, I thought this was a sort of Hansel and Gretel sweet shop with sort of chocolate and candy on the outside, but no, it's actually a really cleverly thought out building with a lot of story behind it once again. Firstly, on the outside, there's all the impressive architecture that you'd expect from a building of this area, with some fun things going on as well. But on the inside, we have some very different storytelling going on throughout the floors. A tailor on ground level is hiding what lies above, which can be accessed via the movable elevator, which is always a cool addition that I like to see in buildings. Above that, we have an illegal gambling house going on, where our minifigs can come for their misdeeds, where our law-breaking minifigs can come to while away the hours playing at the poker tables. But above that, things get even worse because there is a preparation for a bank robbery in process. I'm not entirely sure whether this is supposedly like the vault for the casino. Now, where it says preparation, I'm not sure whether this is like a practice vault, or more likely if it's actually the vault that belongs to the casino on the floor down below. Either way, the bank robbers seem to be going to extreme lengths to work out how to actually get inside. And they're cool looking minifigs, including one that definitely reminds me of the Riddler. Overall, I just really like the story that's going on behind it, but of course how it looks both inside and out, the differences between the floors as well is great. The proposed minifigures are really cool, and having a lift is definitely a nice touch too. So a good choice as a Lego staff pick, I think, and well deserving of some more support. Next up is the modular post office, and I really like the exterior design work that's gone on here. Very impressive and yet slightly off kilter as well. It immediately makes me think of Terry Pratchett's Going Postal, for any who know the reference. But this is a great proposal as a 3-story modular building with some really well thought out details going on in it. Whether we're talking inside or out, I just think this is a really good looking, proposed addition. I think it would prove very popular. It's just a really nice combination of something that looks great, but also has a lot of fun behind it as well. So although it doesn't have that much support yet, it is still only early days, as I film this anyway, and I expect to see it get quite a lot more votes because I think it looks really cool. And, I think it fits in with other builds that we already have whilst having, its own unique elements that gives it quite a bit of character. So nicely done. Thumbs up from me. Next, though, is the Modular Hospital from a bit earlier in 2024, already having gained quite a lot of support. It's not too hard to see why. Being an obvious good addition, just as a base concept, it also is filled with nice design features, lots of colour, and plenty of fun aspects to it. I really like the addition of an ambulance and, of course, an ambulance bay. And from the foyer and reception, there's some cool stuff that you would expect to find in a hospital, although there does need to be a much longer line with a load of people waiting if it was going to be really true to form. But silliness aside, it has been thought out well across all of the floors. Just one thing that I do want to have as a little bugbear though, I mean, we've got a person in a wheelchair down here, and yet the only way up throughout these floors are via the staircase. There's no lift that's been put in. Obviously, a large portion of space on the ground floor has been taken up by the ambulance bay, but I really do feel that a lift should have been put in here. It is a hospital after all. If any building needs one, it's kind of this. So that is missing, and it's a markdown in my opinion. But aside from that, everything else has been thought out well. Love the sort of CAT scan MRI machine down here. Suitable amount of fear on the face, I think, for that. Just overall, I think a lot of care and attention has gone into it. Got a great amount of detail that's packed in here. Good load of minifigs. Something that really does tick the play and display boxes as well. And of course, you've even got that helipad on the top. But yeah, just does need a lift adding. If this is ever chosen, that's something Lego needs to add in here too. And in that regard, it probably stands quite a good chance because it's already got a decent amount of support. So suspect that is going to reach the 10,000 votes in the not too distant future. So it probably will come up for consideration at some point. On now then to another staff pick that's really quite different, the Circus. It's a fantastic idea that I think definitely does need to be made. As a concept, a circus tent, come on, we do need a big top. I thought that ever since Lego Masters Australia, I think it was season 4, where they did something similar, albeit on a much bigger and more technical level. But this just oozes fun. It's got some nice building techniques in there. The colours are all exactly right. The minifigs are fantastically fun. And it's wacky in a good way. It's out of the box. Really does stand out from the crowd. Something that probably more than any of the others so far combine something that looks really good on display, but also has a huge playability factor to it. It's really fun, and there really isn't a brick out of place. This is something that you could easily put into the Bricklink designer program as well, because you could pretty much just box this up and ship it out as it is here. There's not a wasted brick. Everything has a purpose, and to my eye, it does look spot on. The penultimate one is this, Return to Egypt, Johnny Thunder's Adventures. Not something that I would normally expect to see under the modular lineup, and to be perfectly honest, I don't think that this would ever stand a chance of being chosen. But you know what? It's a fun idea, really nicely thought through. I'd love to see a return to the desert style Johnny Thunder things. Obviously, we had him sort of updated and brought back for the jungle lineup, so it may well be something that Lego would revisit in the desert side of things as well. Obviously not in modular format like this, but fingers crossed that they do bring it back, because this was such a beloved theme. Now, whilst I don't really think that this would ever stand a chance of being picked, I just want to really give it a shout out because I think it has been thought out so well. There's a lot of fun going on in here. It just looks great. It would be so nice if Lego would actually allow the designers to sell the instructions if they wanted to make them directly through Lego Ideas for ones like this, because it has been really nicely done. I love the columns as well. I'd really like it if they would make this, especially with the plane and the truck as well. It'd be such a fun thing to own. So sadly, I can't see it happening, but that's no reason not to support it. I think you still should, absolutely, when the designers have put in the time to actually do something like this, the fan designer, because it is cool. I would like to have it. Now, similar can be said for this, the Gremlins 40th anniversary. If it looks familiar, of course, it was already proposed under the 80s challenge, although this has now been updated and improved still further. The likelihood of actually seeing this is probably pretty slim. After all, the 80s challenge, we had the buildable gizmo win out as part of the second fan vote, so it's very unlikely that we'd then get another Gremlins set anytime soon, but it would make sense. After all, it is the anniversary. And just as we had the Home Alone house, I mean, come on, this absolutely deserves to be one. I think we really should have this. I love the detailing inside and out. I won all of the minifigures. I just think it's an absolutely cracking build, and it's a subject matter that, again, really deserves to be done. I know we're getting the buildable gizmo, but all the characters, the house, the whole thing, for me, it's an absolute classic, and it just so deserves it. It needs to happen. So big thumbs up, definitely deserves doing. And if you want to see it stand a chance, then of course head on over and support it. But those are the ones that I've picked from 2024, a mixture of some already with a great amount of support that we'll probably see hitting the 10,000 mark pretty soon, and some others newly submitted that really caught my eye. Make sure to comment down below and consider liking and subscribing, as we'll be taking a look at a lot more very soon. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.